My name is Jacob. I'm 41, recently divorced, and trying to rebuild my life in a house that creaks like it remembers more than I do. I moved into my grandparents' old home last fall. They passed within 6 months of each other, and the place sat empty for years. Nobody in the family wanted it. Too many memories, they said. I wanted peace, solitude, so I moved in. Started a month later. I was cleaning out the attic when I found an old wooden chest. Inside, dust, photos, yellowed papers, and a black leather journal with no name. The first page was blank. The second said, "Jacob, you finally found me." Froze. It wasn't my handwriting, but it knew my name. The third page described something I'd never told anyone. The way I used to hide in the hall closet when my parents fought, how I'd plug my ears and count until it stopped. Every page after that. Memories. Secrets. But written by someone else. At the bottom of the last page. "You forgot the attic window. Don't leave it open tonight." I didn't know there was an attic window until I looked up and saw it slowly swinging open. I closed the window. It took more effort than I expected. It resisted me like something was holding it open. But eventually, with a loud creak, it slammed shut. The attic was colder after that. Not just cold, empty. Like a vacuum. I stayed up that night. Around 2:17 a.m., I heard footsteps. Not downstairs. Above me. In the attic. I grabbed a flashlight and crept up one step at a time. Nothing moved. No wind. Just a still, wrong silence. The journal was back in the chest. Open to a new page. Don't look at its face. What face? I turned, light scanning the corners. Then I saw it. In the far corner, a shape. Ill. Barely human. Bent wrong. Froze. Didn't breathe. The light flickered. When it came back, it was closer. Backed away. Step by step, never looking up. Never looking at the face. The journal slammed shut on its own. And the thing whispered, "You read too far." Ran. Slept in my truck until morning. When I came back, the attic door was shut. And nailed shut from the inside. I didn't go near the attic for 3 days. I tried to forget. To live like normal. But the house wouldn't let me. Every time I walked past the attic stairwell, I heard tapping. Rhythmic. Intentional. The fourth night, the tapping spelled my name in Morse code. I finally opened the journal again. Had a new entry. "You don't remember, but you already made a deal. You came back. That was the price." Below it, in red ink. "Give us something else. Or we'll take it." That night, my wedding ring vanished. Then the old photo of me and my brother. Then the pocket knife Grandpa gave me when I turned 12. All gone. I went to the attic door. Still nailed shut. But there was a slip of paper under it. Written in my handwriting. "You chose this. One memory a night. Or we take a person." I laughed. Then I cried. I didn't know what it meant, until I woke up the next morning and didn't recognize the face in the mirror. Not because it wasn't mine, but because I couldn't remember my own name. Kept a notebook by my bed. Every morning I wrote down everything I could remember. Faces, places. The more I tried, the more I lost. My phone was full of names I didn't know. Voicemails from strangers calling me Jake or Jay. Called my sister. She cried. Said I hadn't called her in 6 years. I don't have a sister. Least. I don't remember one. That night, the attic door creaked open. Not broken. Not nailed. Just open. The journal sat at the top of the stairs. On it, one word. Choose. Inside were 2 entries. One was a memory. Me, age 7, my dad teaching me to ride a bike. His hands on my shoulders. The sound of the chain skipping. Laughter. The second was a name, Claire. No context. Just that. The rules were clear now. Save one. Lose the other. Chose the bike. The next morning, there were photos in the house of a woman I didn't know. In them we were smiling, hugging, dancing. And in one, getting married. But I don't remember Claire. And I don't think I ever will. I started searching for answers. Not just online. In person. I went to the county archive. Looked up every previous owner of the house. Found journals, letters, fragments of stories. None mentioned a diary. Until I found the file on Howard Elridge. He lived here in 1953. Disappeared in 1956. His brother filed a missing persons report. It was never closed. The last note in the file. Howard began speaking about the ledger upstairs. Said it knew things. Said it wrote in red when it was angry. I scanned the page and compared it to the journal's ink. The red matched. That night I had a dream. Howard was in it. He was younger than the photo. Hollow-eyed. Standing beside the attic window. It doesn't want your memories, he said. It wants your story. I asked how to stop it. He didn't answer. Just turned and vanished through the window. When I woke, the attic window was open again. And on the journal. We're almost at the good part. The next time I opened the journal, it didn't record a memory. It wrote something I hadn't done. Jacob wakes at 3:07 a.m. and walks barefoot to the kitchen. He makes tea. He hums the tune his mother used to sing. He doesn't remember the words. Closed the book. But at 3:07 I woke. I didn't feel groggy. I didn't feel anything. Understood. Boiled water. I didn't even realize what I was doing until I sat at the table with the tea cooling in my hand. I opened the book again. New page. He thinks he's resisting. But he already gave us permission. I ripped the page out. The ink bled across my fingers like oil. I threw it in the fireplace. It didn't burn. I tried to leave the house. The locks were gone. Not jammed. Like there had never been a door. Upstairs, the attic door creaked open. The journal was waiting on the first step. Next, confession. I didn't want to write. But the book was open again. Pen waiting beside it. Page blank except for the header. What Jacob did. What he never told. My hand moved on its own. I wrote about Claire. Not the photo Claire. Not the lost memory. The real one. The one who came to me after my breakdown. Who moved in. Who tried to help. The one I pushed away. The one who fell. I told people she left. That she couldn't take it anymore. I even convinced myself. But I still see the stairs. The look in her eyes before it happened. Before she went quiet. Before I buried it. In her. The page filled with my words, and some that weren't mine. Now you remember. Now we're complete. The house moaned. The lights blinked. The mirror in the hall cracked. The journal closed itself. I sat in silence for an hour. Then another. Then I heard it. A step. Coming up from the basement. The footsteps stopped at the basement door. I stood frozen. Something scraped across the other side. Like fingernails on wood. Then a knock. Gentle. Deliberate. Open the door. Darkness. I stepped down. The journal was already there, on the bottom step. Open. A single sentence glowed on the page. You buried her truth. Now she'll show you hers. The light bulb overhead popped. I lit a match. The basement was different. It was not how I remembered it. It went deeper. The air was wet. The walls were lined with mirrors, but none reflected me. In each one, a version of myself. Crying, screaming, laughing, bleeding. Then I saw her. Claire. But not. Her skin was cracked glass. Her eyes hollow light. She whispered. You wrote me out. But I wrote myself back in. The journal slammed shut. The mirrors all turned black. And her reflection stepped out of one. She stood in front of me. Her shape familiar but her presence wrong. The glass on her skin shimmered as if alive. I could see my reflection in every crack. Claire tilted her head. You buried me. But this house remembered. Backed up. She stepped forward. Everything you didn't say, every truth you locked away, it stayed here. In us. The journal floated beside her. Pages flapping, blank but bleeding at the edges. She reached out. Not to touch me. To offer me the pen. Write it, she said. Everything. Every lie you told. Or stay here with me. Behind her, the mirrors began to ripple. I saw memories I'd forgotten. My parents arguing, but in this version my father turns and sees me watching. Me hiding the evidence after Claire fell. Not just scared but relieved. A room I'd never entered before. And a child I didn't recognize. I took the pen. My hand trembled. Claire smiled and the basement whispered. "He's ready." The pen felt heavier than it should have. I began writing. The words didn't come from my mind. They came from someplace deeper. I wrote about the night Claire fell. What I saw. What I didn't do. But it didn't stop there. More poured out. The friend I let take the blame in college. The letter I forged to keep an inheritance. The time I said, "I love you," when I didn't mean it, just to keep someone from leaving. The mirrors around me shimmered. The reflections started to change. I saw myself older, younger, sick, successful. All the lives I might have lived. Chuan watched me. And Claire. She stepped back into the mirror. She said nothing. But she nodded. The journal snapped shut. A breeze swept through the basement, and with it, light. The mirrors cracked and faded. The stairs behind me were open. And for the first time in days I felt quiet. But the last page of the journal had one more line. One last memory to give. And it must be chosen. The journal lay open again. The final instruction pulsed on the page. One last memory. Give it. Or keep the weight. I sat with it for hours. I thought of everything I'd lost. And everything I still remembered. My mother's voice humming lullabies. The first time I rode a bike without help. The moment Claire kissed me in the rain. The day I forgave myself or tried to. The house waited. Silent. Breath held. I asked the journal. What happens if I choose wrong? No answer. Picked up the pen. Wrote a name. My own. And with it, the memory of who I was before the guilt. Before the lies. Before Claire. The ink bled gold. The pages curled inward. A wind howled through the floorboards. Then stillness. The book shut itself. And crumbled to ash. I stood up, unsure who I was, but certain I had chosen. The house was quiet. Too quiet. No creaks. No echoes. No breath. I stood in the center of the hallway, holding nothing. The journal was gone. But something new had begun. The walls pulsed with warmth. The air smelled different, like ink and soil and old smoke. I checked the mirror in the foyer. I was still there. Same face. Same eyes. But the longer I looked, the less I recognized them. That night I dreamed of blank pages. Thousands. Endless. And one pen. In the dream I began writing, not memories. Not truths. Futures. I saw a man walk into a bookstore and meet the love of his life. I saw a child who'd never been born, now laughing, running in a backyard. I saw a version of me that never hurt Claire. When I woke, the attic chest was empty, except for a fresh journal. And a note. The past is written. The rest is yours. I didn't write at first. The clean pages stared back at me, too white, too expectant. But the pen was warm. Alive. I don't know how else to describe it. The first thing I wrote wasn't for me. It was for Claire. She lived. She forgave. She moved on. Closed the book. When I opened it again, those lines were gone. Replaced with, she watched. Waits. She remembers. I tried again. Wrote about my father, about a peaceful ending, about reconciliation. Instead. Some wounds don't heal. Some ink doesn't dry. I realized this journal doesn't let me write fiction. Only what might already be true. That night I dreamed of the house again. But now I was the one in the mirror. Looking out. And someone else was holding the pen. I can't tell how long I've been in the mirror. Time doesn't pass here. Not really. The version of me outside. He's wearing my face. But he's not me. He smiles too easily. Speaks softer. Sleeps soundly. He writes in the journal every night. But he never looks back. He's writing my story. And as he does, I feel myself fading. Memories slip. My mother's face, my first kiss, the scent of fall leaves. Gone. In the mirror there are others. Reflections with blank eyes. Some scream. Some weep. A few smile like they wanted to be here. I asked one, "Who are you?" She replied, "The ones who chose not to choose." I look at the other side and I wonder, if I could take the pen again, would I still write my life? Or someone else's? There's only one way out of the mirror. Write the last page. But I have no pen. No voice. Only thoughts. So I think the words. Shape them in silence. This story is mine. The mirror ripples. The boy writing outside stumbles. His hand shakes. He drops the pen. And in that instant I leap. Through the glass. Through the ink. Through the memory. I wake up. I'm lying on the attic floor. The journal is closed. The house is silent. I go to the mirror. My face is mine. But in my reflection the other boy is there. Watching. Waiting. And the book. Still here. Blank again. On the first page a single line. Whoever holds the pen writes the truth. I don't know what I'll write next. But this time it will be mine.